So I just got done watching this new Godzilla IMAX trailer, and it is Toad. I don't want you guys to get jelly if you haven't seen it yet. And I'm going to tell you about the trailer, and I'll even go on in detail about what goes on in this trailer. And I'm not going to lie, the whole scene that takes place here is something that we've all been anticipating, and it turned out far better than I expected. I really didn't imagine it being this amazing. So I'm quite pleased with that. So stay tuned. Alright, and I'm going to start going on about what goes on in this trailer because this is damn epic. It's the scene where Ghidorah breaks out of its icy prison, when Ghidorah is seemingly freed by the humans, and as expected, faces Godzilla for the first time in a long time. So if you don't want to hear any more than that, you should probably click away from the video because I'm going to go on about this, and it was really entertaining, and the music and atmosphere is just spot on for what I was hoping for. It's very suspenseful, and out of all the amazing Godzilla trailers that we've received so far, two of which I've really liked. I really enjoyed the first trailer, and I also enjoyed that beautiful TV spot that took place just a few weeks ago. Those are probably my top picks so far. However, in addition to that, we get this scene, and I think this is the scene that I've enjoyed the most so far out of everything we've seen from Godzilla King of the Monsters. The scale is just humongous. It really captures the size of these creatures once again, similar to how the 2014 Godzilla film did. I didn't really feel like Skull Island did the same thing. For whatever reason, it just seemed more CGI-ish, and there was less scale to it, in my opinion. But I'm no expert at this shit, okay? The trailer starts out with that military guy going on addressing the public or something, or a news station, about how all the continents of the world are getting hit by these crazy creatures that they haven't seen before. In fact, he even says these creatures in which we don't have names for yet. So yeah, there are going to be several new creatures, and as expressed in the last trailer, I think, there is at least 17 monsters in this film. And it's just disastrous scenes going on here. Basically a global cataclysm, and it's really Toad. And then from what I can tell in the trailer, it's the female lead character who pushes a button and then says run. And the way the trailer's set up, at least, it conveys the notion that she's the one who releases Ghidorah. But of course, it could just be trickery in the trailer, I'm not sure. But then we see the icy prison around Ghidorah begin to fall away. And like I said, the scale is just massive. You can hear these loud rumbles and the sounds of these large obstacles shifting the earth and moving, and it's really impressive. And on the surface, in Antarctica, it seems, after this episode takes place, like the ground beneath their feet begins to fall away as well. I think everything around Ghidorah that's been encasing him for so long. So the military forces, bunch of foot soldiers and stuff, they just start running away, and the ice is just falling into the ground, and it's an epic scene. There's also a lot of fire going on. It really harpens back to something like what would be in the Bible or whatever, or something to do with the releasing of Satan. You know, it's pretty epic because, well, as pointed out before, it is referenced in the Bible, the idea of Satan getting cast down to the earth, and as we've seen in this film's advertisement, a lot of these kaiju allude to things in Revelation and stuff like that. So it's just even more impressive, I think, to see the fire like encasing this pit. There's just like flames coming up out of it on quite a large scale as well. And smoke, you know, shit's just smoldering, and it's really epic, man. You guys got to see this trailer. And then we see this heavy, humongous tail reach up out of this pit, just swaying in the air, and you can see the spikes stick out of it. And the people around are like looking back, they stop running, and they're just freaking out over this scene. And again, the music is just Toad, and I hope that this is exactly how it goes in the final product. I hope they use this soundtrack, this music, and I hope the transitions are as they are in this trailer. It all just seems perfect. Just these low-tone sound effects. It's very suspenseful. It's like a nuclear alarm or something like that, just warning us that something just disastrous is going to take place. Something just like biblical in proportions, you know? This is really going to be Toad, and I hope that this scene goes just the way it does right here. And then we begin to hear these low bellow tones in the midst of massive clouds of smoke coming out of this pit. And we see what seems to be Ghidorah beginning to rise up out of it and wake up. And he seems a bit dazed, but it doesn't take long for him to get in the right mind, it seems. And there's still like ice melting off of him, and just these low tones accompanied by those high-pitched screeches. Yeah, it really makes the scene fascinating and very intriguing. And then the military guys, they start blasting at him, and the camera then goes way back, and they're just shooting away at him, and it has seemingly no effect on Ghidorah. And then Ghidorah begins to raise up its necks. This all takes place after he begins to crawl out of this pit, and his wings just being utilized as legs, and they're just smashing into the ground and breaking the ice, and just the sound effects and the bass to this is amazing. And you see this massive creature just pulling itself out of this pit, and just the people around it just terrified. It really reminds me of something similar to the Muto scene in the 2014 Godzilla film. Those few scenes that seem to really capture their size, that I thought was just done perfectly. It reminds me of that, and it's even more epic that we can see this classic Godzilla creature in this new monsterverse, and just the realism that's been added to it, and it just works out really well. Now this is Toad, but here's what's even more amazing. He starts reaching his necks up right after the folks are all blasting away at him, and you can see the middle head charging up, and it starts to illuminate in that yellow light. And then the other ones follow suit with that. And as expected, he just spews out his gravity beams. And then the shot goes down to the humans, and it's just like lightning hitting the ground all over the place. And it looks like the beams effect on the humans, from what I can tell, it's kind of blurry because I don't really have a high quality viewing of this trailer. But it looks like they actually disintegrate the people that they hit. And I think that would be epic if that's what they really do. Kind of like in War of the Worlds, those alien things, they would blast the beams at the folks and they just pop and disintegrate. But it looks just like that, like that's what it does. And I think that would be awesome if that's the way that these things actually work. It's just terrifying and very efficient, you know, at just wiping out masses of people. And it makes me wonder, how would they affect Godzilla? And maybe we'll see later on these beams like zapping away Godzilla's flesh, and we'll see like a skeletal structure. And maybe that's how he transitions into burning Godzilla eventually, but it's just speculation. But nonetheless, just seeing these people disintegrate, yeah, it's terrifying, man, and it's really exhilarating to watch. And then what's really interesting is how, after doing that, Ghidorah reaches down and pulls off that one Monarch jet or whatever, that jet that folks are talking about, that the two main characters ride in sometimes, and it follows the kaiju around. Yeah, that jet has been parked next to this scene the whole time. And after Ghidorah blasts his beams around the place, he actually reaches down and rips off the hood of this jet. And you can see the young female character, and she's just thinking that it's over now. And I think that the kaiju, or at least Ghidorah, is actually seeking out these two female leads, or at least one of them. And I remember hearing something about that in the past, how there's something going on between them. So Ghidorah, for whatever reason, might be hunting her down. So he rips off the lid, then looks up and starts to inspect this jet. But that's when Godzilla begins to emerge from the ice, I think. I think he breaks out of the ground, because this is all like just a frozen over ocean or something where they're at. And Godzilla starts to come up out of the ground. And this distracts Ghidorah, so he leaves the jet alone and looks onward toward whatever's coming up out of the ground right there. And I think he knows it's Godzilla. There's a massive blue glow about where Godzilla is protruding from the ground at. And it's very quiet and subtle. The orchestra and music to this scene when Godzilla starts to come up out of the ground. And I like that, how it just really helps us focus on, you know, the subtle nuances that are going on here. And it seems that they recognize each other, and I think they do. From what we know, they've faced off against one another in the past. And then the camera goes back and we see Ghidorah just spreading out his wings to that iconic image that a lot of us have seen now, where they're just facing one another. And it seems like a natural thing that creatures of this type would do if facing off against one another. You know, Ghidorah would probably want to look as big as possible for intimidation purposes. You see that all throughout the animal kingdom, it seems. When an animal is trying to defend itself, it will attempt to look as large as possible. And that's exactly what Ghidorah is doing here. And that wraps up the scene that we see between these two, because then it transitions into a more upbeat tone. So then we get to see other parts of the film, and we see Mothra spreading her wings out with some nice orchestra playing behind it. We see Mothra and Rodan fighting in the air with one another, and we see some stuff going on with the humans, a bit more story unfolding here. But yeah, it's a pretty long trailer. Most of it is the Ghidorah breaking out of its prison scene, which I think is very impressive. But yeah, I think I'll end it here, man. But this trailer is just Toad. So let me know what you guys think. Have you seen this trailer yet? And what do you think of my explanation of this so far if you haven't yet? Let me know in the comments your thoughts on these matters and like this video. I am the Iceman. Peace be with you.